We were developing in Williamsburg and we in 09, 10, and we were projecting $35 in rents, and we ended up getting $65, $70 in rents. And as land prices started going up dramatically in Williamsburg and even then Bushwick, the next market that had the great transportation with the L line and the M line was Ridgewood. And it was a natural progression of where development would take place. So we were trying to get there early. But in Ridgewood, there aren't many large parcels that can be assembled, with a great zoning where you can build bulk. We were able to find that and underwrite numbers at $35 to $45 a foot on the rentals and make a successful project.
So what are you planning to build there?
So we're planning to build a 234,000 square foot building encompassing 129 apartments and 90,000 square feet of retail and commercial and a 350 car parking garage. And we're located right on the Myrtle L and the Myrtle M.
So with regard to parking, everything, as I was saying earlier, before the show started, the real key to why people are moving to Ridgewood or Bushwick or other sections is they're accommodating to Manhattan, as one would call them, a transit-oriented development. Isn't there a perception in the market, that the Bushwick neighborhood it's getting gentrified, but it's still a little tougher,
it's
raw.
edgy. Yes.
So that's one of the key character differences between Bushwick and Ridgewood, which I think is fueling Ridgewood's growth. Ridgewood is a neighborhood already. It isn't filled with industrial buildings. Part of it is landmarked with the townhomes, and the people that live there are working people. There's a large percentage of Hispanic and Eastern European people, and then moving in, and it's working together are these 20-something-year-olds. So it's safe. There's retail there already. It isn't like you have to go out to find a food store. There's a real infrastructure.
Okay, do we have the Trader Joe's coming in to Ridgewood and Bushwick? We were talking before, you saying that we used to have the 99-cent stores owned by the local business people. Now, with gentrification, the 99-cent store is still a dollar store, but it's owned by Dollar Tree, which is a national public chain. But you were also saying Starbucks is moving in, Chipotle you brought in.
As well as other, boutique restaurants. And, going back to your point regarding Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, those are markets that they'd like to get into. And if there were parcels available to accommodate their required parking and their required size, it would be a no-brainer for them to enter these markets. And in our building in particular, the one we're developing at 350 St. Nicholas, these are the types of tenants that we are having negotiations with for the retail. And potentially a retailer like Whole Foods or a retailer like Trader Joe's is potentially a game changer for Ridgewood, and the Ridgewood Bushwick board.
There's a chain, a supermarket chain called Best Market. They when A&P went out of business, they took over 12 of their locations. The reason they run very fine operations. They just opened up a store in West Hampton Beach, and they also opened in Hartsdale. The key to their success is they're non-union, so they can operate at a lower operating expense for labor. And they've been in certain rural neighborhoods. They were in Riverhead before Riverhead had the revitalization. So I could see that happen. I could see perhaps the Whole Foods 365, which is a smaller version of the Whole Foods, more of that. And definitely the Trader Joe's, or even an Aldi, which has done well in certain parts of the neighborhoods over there.
I think there's no doubt that it will come.
And what type of commercial do you expect?
Well, we're looking at one of these nationals to take the ground floor, the 30,000 square feet of retail that we have, and we're potentially looking at vertical retail to do on the upper floors, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or potentially office. 60,000 square feet of office in an up-and-coming neighborhood like Ridgewood and Bushwick Park.
Taking into consideration what we see with the co-working market today, the advancement of the co-working into certain parts of Queens, and Brooklyn, I could see that as a natural opportunity over there. For them taking the mass space and leasing.
Absolutely, and WeWork and coworkers RS are types of tenants that we've had discussions.
Are you doing anything else in the Bushwick Ridgewood?
We're aggressively looking for retail and commercial sites currently in the areas due to the lack of the 421A. by New York City. We're not looking at any new residential projects in the area, but we're heavily focused on trying to get retail assets and repositioning them with better national tenants.
So
Bushwick Ridgewood border. I think even though it's getting popular now, I think Vogue called Bushwick the sixth sexiest neighborhood in the United States. I think we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. I think once these projects that they're building bring a different group of people there, the retail's going to shine. As I mentioned earlier, there's a zoning issue, I believe, Mayor touched on as well, on south of Myrtle. I think if there's some zoning adjustment there, or even if not, some of those manufacturing will become, sexier alternative use places, art galleries, restaurants, wine storage. I think different types of people will come to the neighborhood. And I still think there's a double or triple of that neighborhood.
Barry?